update, only on Money FM 89.3.
Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon update on Money FM 89.3 this Monday, the 3rd of October. Hello and welcome to all of you joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube today as well. I'm Rachel Kelly and I'm joined in the studio by
Hong Bin Jung,
our wonderful finance producer, as well as Raushan, who's sitting to my left. You would have seen him in the wide shot. I'll get him to give another wave later on. He keeps us in check and makes sure we behave on a daily basis. Now, coming up on the show today, this half hour, we've got an exciting giveaway for you. We have a pair of Category 1 tickets. They're worth $190 for you to go and watch End of the Rainbow. It starts this Friday and it's on until the 23rd of October. We're going to be joined on the line in just a bit by Tracie Pang, who is the director, as well as Mina Kaye, who is starring in End of the Rainbow. So let me just tell you a little bit about it. So End of the Rainbow, it was a Broadway and West End hit musical drama about the final days in the life of legendary songbird Judy Garland. Played by Mina Kaye, End of the Rainbow is a powerful and at times hilarious exploration of the tormented heart and troubled mind of a truly unique individual. So as I mentioned, it's running from the 7th to the 23rd of October. We've got a prize to give away, a pair of tickets sponsored kindly by Pangdemonium. So what you need to do is join us for that interview with Tracie and Mina. We're going to ask you a question at the start of the interview, not necessarily related to the musical. And we're going to give you 3 options. You can choose one of the answers. Make sure you share the video and we will pick the winner in just a bit. So stay with us. We're going to check in on the markets now for you.
Money FM 89.3. Financial updates from the Business Times.
Take a look at the SGX website. The STI currently in the red, down just over 0.5% at 3,114 points. Decliner still leading the pack today, 298 to 173. In terms of volume at the moment, 810 million securities with $602 million have changed hands so far. Hong Bin's been keeping an eye on a number of local stocks for you. We're going to start off by talking telco. Let's start with StarHub. Hong Bin.
So Maybank Securities have upgraded its call on StarHub from hold to buy. And that's because it expects the telecommunications company to benefit from the global economic recovery as the Chinese economy reopens. So the research house's target price on the counter remains unchanged at $1.32. And that's implying a potential upside of more than 20% from the share price of $1.12. And in a report last Friday, analyst Kevin Tan noted that the group continued to face rising operating costs due to its ongoing DARE Plus strategic transformation, as well as higher operating expenses booked in the first half of fiscal year 2022. And Tan projects the fiscal year 2022 revenue and earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization of 2.3 billion Singapore dollars and 453 million Singapore dollars, respectively, but warns of sluggish earnings in the second half of fiscal year 2022 due to rising operational expenditure from DARE Plus. And shares currently of StarHub are up 0.9% at $1.11.
You've also been watching Singtel as well.
So Singtel has appointed Deloitte to undertake an independent review of the group's cyber security systems. And this is after its Australian subsidiary Optus in late September announced it had been hit by a cyber attack which potentially compromised both current and former customers' information. So in a Bourse filing today, the telecommunications giant said Optus is working closely with identity document issuing authorities to determine the appropriate next steps for its customers. And separately, Singtel says it seeks to clarify certain reports in the media citing potential fines or costs associated with the incident. And the group considers these reports speculative at this juncture and advises that they should not be relied upon. And shares of Singtel are currently down 1.1% at $2.63.
Okay, before we go into the rest of the market update, I'm going to throw that question out there. So I'll give you guys some time to answer before we get to the end of the interview with Tracie and Mina at 3:30. Once that wraps up, that's when we want to announce who's won. So the question is, many of you attended F1 over the weekend. Did you go to F1, Hongbin?
No, I did not. I went to a bar to watch parts of it.
Okay. Was it packed?
It wasn't, because I was watching the game on Saturday, not the actual Friday game.
Not that you were watching the
Sunday
qualifier.
game. Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, how many people attended this year's Singapore Grand Prix? So we're going to give you three options. Was it A, 300,000? Was it B, 302,000? Was it C, 268,000? Drop your comment in the section below. Let us know. Share the video. And you could stand the chance to win that pair of Category 1 tickets to go and see End of the Rainbow by Pangdemonium. If you're listening to us here on Money FM 89.3, you can drop us a text with your answer. 8855-0893 is our number. I'm waiting for your text and your comments. Keep them coming. Okay, let's get back to the markets now. Some interesting news, if I can call it that, from the UK when it comes to tax. What's happened, Hongbin?
Well, the British pound seems to have rose sharply right now, and that's as the UK government reverts its planned scrapping of the top rate of income tax. So plans to scrape that 45-point rate of income tax has been reversed, and Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng has confirmed it, and he said the proposals announced just 10 days ago in the government's mini budget had become a distraction. And so this is a massive and humiliating U-turn, and it comes just only a day after Prime Minister Liz Truss insisted that she would not abandon the tax cut for the wealthiest. And it would also seem to undermine her central argument that growth depends in large part on lower taxes to attract entrepreneurs. And the government justified the U-turning by calling it as a distraction, as we heard from the Chancellor, from its wider growth plan. But maybe the damage is already done in terms of the Truss government's standing with the voters and the markets.
Okay, Hongbin, let's check in. What else are you looking out for in the week ahead? We've got a number of interesting announcements coming out this week. I'm just taking a look at the calendar for the week from China, the US. But what else was highlighted in the weekly, which is the Money FM 89.3 newsletter? If you don't subscribe, you should go and check it out on our website. We send an email out every Monday morning with what you need to look out for in the week ahead.
It's very well outlined, and in the beginning, it just shows you what to watch out for. And we have on Monday, later today, we have the US ISM manufacturing PMI for September. Tuesday, of course, we have the Reserve Bank of Australia's interest rate decision. Also on Tuesday, we have South Korea's CPI. On Wednesday, we have ECB's non-monetary policy meeting, as well as Euro area S&P Global Services PMI final for September. Wednesday, we also have Singapore's retail sales numbers out. And on Friday, a lot of investors are watching out for U.S. unemployment rate for September, as well as U.S. non-farm payrolls for September as well. And I just missed out on something for Thursday. We also have China's Caixin PMI.
That's right. Lots of interesting economic data coming out in the week ahead. You are listening to Money FM 89.3. Up next, we've got What's Trending. We're going to be joined by Tracie Pang Mina Kaye to talk about End of the Rainbow. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3.
This is Money FM 89.3, Singapore's most influential radio station.
So, if you haven't done so already, go and take a look at the question that we're asking you in the comments section on Facebook. We want to find out from you how many people attended this year's Singapore Grand Prix. Was it A, 300,000? Was it B, 302,000? Was it C, 268,000? Drop us a comment with your answer, and if you get the answer right, you could win a pair of tickets, Cat 1 tickets at that, to go and watch End of the Rainbow. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3.
Keeping you company through your workday. Money FM 89.3.
You are listening to Money FM 89.3. Now, End of the Rainbow is a powerful and at times hilarious exploration of the tormented heart and troubled mind of a truly unique individual. We're talking about Judy Garland. It's a musical drama, and it's the latest Pangdemonium production, which opens at the Drama Centre Theatre this Friday, the 7th of October. It was adapted into a film in 2019 called Judy, which you may have caught with Renee Zellweger. And we're joined now by the show's director, Tracie Pang, and leading lady, Mina Kaye, to tell us more. Tracie and Mina, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Hi, great to see you.
Hello.
Hi, great to have you both with us. So let's start off, and perhaps you can tell us more about this particular production, Tracie, because, you know, The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland, it was a very memorable movie for me growing up. Does that give away my age a bit? Okay, I'm not quite, but it's a classic, isn't it? It's a classic, and I know that you mentioned in a recent interview, Tracie, that it was interesting for you to educate younger members of your crew about who Judy Garland actually is, because she's so iconic. Talk to us about this production.
I mean, I think, like you, Judy Garland's comes from my childhood. I kind of grew up with watching The Wizard of Oz as a child every Christmas. So, you know, to kind of come in and be putting on this show, and suddenly you realize that there's a whole generation of people who haven't heard of her and don't know who she is. I was a little bit mind blown by that. But, you know, I'm taking that, you know, not as a bad thing, because I think, you know, what's happening is giving us an opportunity to share with everybody who Judy Garland is, and her music, and a little bit about her life. You know, so it's a great opportunity to do that. And you know, she was an amazing woman. You know, and as you rightly say, an icon from a, you know, a golden era. You know, and you know, she's a very important person to many people, actually. And you know, I think it's great to kind of get in touch with her work, her music, and learn a little bit about her life and her struggles.
And Tracie, without giving too much away, you mentioned learning about her life and her struggles, because it wasn't all rainbows for Judy towards the end. And without giving too much away, can you share with us some highlights of this production?
I can. I think, you know, Judy passed quite a while ago, and you know, I think one of the kind of known facts about Judy is she really struggled with prescription drugs. From a child, she was a child actor, and she was prescribed drugs to get her through the day, because she was doing sort of 14-hour days filming. So she would be prescribed drugs to keep her, you know, up and going, and then she'd be prescribed more drugs to help her sleep at night, because she couldn't sleep because of the drugs that she'd been taking, and it was just became cyclical from a very young age. And that kind of in turn, you know, just kind of grew as you know, she went through life, that she became dependent on these drugs. And just couldn't work without them. And I think during that period, people didn't know, even doctors didn't know how addictive they were. And you know, what the nature of it, what it kind of brought out in her. And I think that the show kind of does take a little look into that world and see just how addicted she was, and the effect that it had on her, just that those kind of needs, and how dependent she was on, drugs and alcohol to just kind of face the world and go out and perform, and eventually it was her demise.
And so you're really tackling issues such as mental health and addiction. It's not just about Judy's Hollywood career, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think what's amazing is you get to see how powerful she was, what an amazing performer. She goes on stage and she gives it her all every night. And you see that in the show. I mean, you see her performances and they're stunning. And then you see the after effects, and I think that's quite amazing and wonderful, opportunity for any actress to come and do this for a show, and to really kind of discover the whole human element of who an icon is. And I think, when we look at even, people who are in the public image from Hollywood these days, we only see one side of them, one facet, and we never see them as a whole entity, a whole human being. And what does it take to be, up and facing the public 24/7 and filming and recording, and be constantly on show and constantly under pressure of being, judged, which is what we do as performers. We're constantly being judged. And what does that do to your own, sort of ego and self and sense of self-worth? So I think it has a lot of relevance to even what people go through today. They're constantly putting themselves out on social media, and they're putting themselves out open for judging. We don't realize we're doing that, but that is in essence what we're doing. And how best to deal with that, and you kind of see the struggles that Judy went through in trying to deal with that.
Thank you for that, Tracie. I think that's really pertinent points there in terms of connecting that with what's happening today. Let's turn now to someone who is going to be giving it her all every night while it's on. Mina, we've got a question from a listener that's just come in for you. Hongbin, perhaps you'd like to share the question with us.
Sure. So Paul asked, "Hi Mina, how did you research for your role? Were you inspired by Renee Zellweger's Oscar-winning performance in the film Judy?"
So I was told that I was going to play this role about a year and a half ago. So I'm very, very grateful that I actually had a year and a half to kind of get my bachelor's degree in Judy Garland. In preparation for this role, I literally, it's like a history assignment. You have to not only, read her biographies, but you also have to watch her mannerisms, watch how she sings, watch, the way she moves, the way she talks, the way she performs, so it's all of that. And I remember telling someone else about this, every night for the past year and a half, I would tell my husband before we go to sleep, I'm like, just let me be, I need to go to Judy Land right now. So I would spend a couple of minutes or maybe like half an hour a night, either reading a chapter of her biography or just watching a clip of her and seeing how she performs and all that, just to get used to her mannerisms and stuff like that. And to answer your question, Paul, I think Renee Zellweger did fantastic, but you have to go back to the original source, to really, really fully embody the person, because I think Renee Zellweger had her own take on Judy. So we all, as actors, we come in with our own experiences. We come in with our own take on the character or the roles that we play. So I would probably have a very different take on Judy Garland compared to Renee Zellweger. So hopefully it'll come through in the show. Fingers crossed.
So I've got to ask, this is Pangdemonium's first major production post-pandemic, if we could say that we are post-pandemic. What did you draw from the pandemic to put into this production, or how do you think that's influenced the production?
I think that when we were looking at what productions to put on, this is a show that kind of came up. I think during the pandemic, we were looking at dealing with a lot of restrictions. And some of those restrictions was number of casts that we could have on stage, the band, whether they could play, whether people could sing. All of these things were restricted to us. So this is really the first show where we can actually have all of that. But at the same time, we had planned it during the pandemic because it's a small cast. It's a cast of 4 and only one person sings. And it's a band, and yet I can still have the band separated from the cast as well, and yet still seen. So all of these were part of the plans that it could still go on even if we were still in the midst of a pandemic. So those were some of the considerations that we were working with when we thought about producing this piece of work. And I think other than that, we actually were looking at why this piece, and I think a lot of it was to do with, we wanted a piece that, we thought that people would enjoy, music that we would remember, that would kind of, the good old days, something to go home and say, that I really enjoyed that show. I had so much fun. It was hilarious, and yet it was very heartbreaking as well. It moved me, and that's what I really want to do with our show. And I think whether you know Judy Garland or not, it actually really doesn't matter. The fact is that you will come in, and if you don't know her, you will learn about her. If you do know her, you'll be revisiting, old favorites. And I think that the audience will get a great evening out. And for me, it's just magic for the first time being able to go into a theater, hear an amazing live singer and a full live band as well. It's been so long. I can't wait. It kind of brings all the hairs on my arm up, just the excitement of that, just hearing it live.
I'm sure we can't wait to come and check it out as well. So I want to ask Mina now, what have you drawn from the pandemic that you've perhaps added to the role? Or I know you mentioned you go to Judyland every night, but
Yes.
what part of Mina is involved, or would you say your own characteristics that you brought into this role?
My own character. I mean, well, my influences growing up is, listening to all these divas, so Judy Garland was one of them. And so it was like Bernadette Peters and Barbara Streisand. So me in a nutshell, I kind of, I'm definitely bringing a little bit of that to my role, the little showgirl that I am, I guess. And did you mention that your question was something about the pandemic?
Yeah, what lessons perhaps or your experience through the pandemic that you might have brought onto this, to how you've approached this particular production?
Not entirely sure how to answer that question, because during the pandemic, all I learned was that you cannot do performing arts on Zoom. and everyone tried to bring shows on Zoom and teach performing arts on Zoom. That's not possible. So I'm glad we're back live, I guess.
So perhaps you can remind us. So this is on from this Friday. Share with us the details.
Yep. So we opened this weekend. Can't wait to open, and we'll be running until the 23rd of October at the Drama Center Theatre.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and also for being so generous with that pair of tickets. Don't forget, you can win a pair of tickets to go and check out End of the Rainbow this weekend. Text us to 88550893. I've seen a number of comments come into our comment box as well. We will be announcing the winner during the market update after the news. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3. Thank you again to Tracie Pang, director of End of the Rainbow, that's out this weekend, as well as Mina Kaye, actress who is leading the production. You are with Money FM 89.3. Thanks for tuning in on social media. Don't forget to switch over to your radio to find out whether or not you've won.
Get up to speed with all the news
Money FM 89.3. Money FM 89.3.